Wife and mother, being a lawyer, but being the First Lady of the United States is what helped her see the need for Vital Voices, the first organization that she started, let's say. And it has turned into something, because I've been around the world to different places where Vital Voices exists, and it has changed so much for the women in the communities where that is, in terms of their role in business, their role as leaders in the community. So she has passed on her leadership skills and desires and her recognition of the importance of that. And I end up here because I have an organization in the United States, count me in. And in 2006, we started a program called Make Mine $1 Million Business. At the time, Hillary Clinton was my senator because I live in New York, and she was a senator from New York. And when she heard about Make Mine $1 Million Business, she said, of course, I want to help you with that. So we had a big press conference, not as beautiful as this. This is so beautiful, really, very beautiful. But we had a press conference in New York at the Washington, at the National Press Club, and Hillary Clinton came and spoke about the importance of women building their businesses to $1 million. So, and I then went on to do much work with her across New York, helping women grow businesses. And now that she is Secretary of State, I was thrilled when she involved me in the Pathways to Prosperity program, because when she first became Secretary of State, what was very clear was that women were not involved in export and trade. There were not enough women. And that's what she's seen every office she's had, is that there are not enough women. So she doesn't worry about it. She just finds a way to make more women, make it possible for more of us to come and more of us to be engaged and involved. And I bring it up because that's the power of one woman. That's one woman. Granted, she's had an unusual life and some great opportunities, but she has shared all of those opportunities with, I'm Italian, and so I speak with my answer. But she has shared all those opportunities with other women. So you are now part of that big growing family of women around the world who will share what you learn here with other women, and your daughters, share it with your daughters. Because your daughters, our daughters, learn everything from watching us. How we behave is how they learn to behave. And if we are successful with our businesses, if we grow a big export business, your daughter maybe can inherit the business or come to work with you. And we'll have mother-daughter businesses as opposed to father and son's businesses. The other thing I want to say before I start my formal remarks is to thank all the men that are here. Because my husband sometimes travels around with me, and he comes to these things and he always wonders why there aren't more men. Because he thinks it's great to spend all this time with all these women. But it is very important that we have the support of the men in our lives to do this work. So I'm very happy that you're here, gentlemen, because you will help your wives make a difference in their businesses, and if you understand what they're trying to do, you will be able to support them and you will help them do it in a bigger way. So I really appreciate the fact that you have come. So welcome. We live in a very important time, because what we've seen now is what women are capable of. Women can be presidents, they can be Olympic gold medal winners. We keep seeing women being more and more successful. And there's a real need now, there's a need in the world for what is in our heads and what is in our hearts. In terms of the products and services we can think of, and how we think about growing a company, and how we want the world to look, how we want our community to look, how we want our families to run. We have very good ideas. And we need now to bring those ideas to the marketplace in a bigger way. Because women have always worked. Women have, from the time human beings were on the earth, women have always worked. We not necessarily always got paid for the work, but we always worked. So now it's a question of working in a way where we benefit, our families benefit, our community's benefits and our country's benefit. And I understand you've been learning a lot about export and the opportunities that are there. And I think one of the most important things in getting into export is understanding your customer. Who are you selling to? It's really thinking of the other person, or the other entity, or the other country, or the other place where it's going. What do they want and need that you have? Because I often think we get very focused on what it is that we can produce and don't think enough about the person that we're selling it to. What matters to them? What's important to the customer? So that, I think, is one of the keys to this, is knowing your customer. And in a lot of the opportunities that come up in export, or in selling to, say even locally, say a company like Walmart or something like that, they have a lot of rules and steps. So I think export is also understanding what the rules of the game are. And it's not magic. It's a set of steps, one after the other, of understanding how to make your product or your service something that will work outside of this country and work in other countries. How does that happen? And there are guidelines and steps and a path to do that. I believe because you're here, you've already made the decision that you want to do it. Yes? Right? Right? So now you have to commit to finding your path in there to be successful. Because it's not magic, some of it is confounding in the sense that you don't understand why somebody would want you to do something in a particular way. And sometimes there's an opportunity for innovation or to change it or to not do it. Often, it just has to happen. So you have to commit yourself to understanding that and doing it. I would also say one of the, I think, important things is, do you know someone else who exports? It's very important to spend some time talking with and understanding people who are already in the export business. What is it that they do that has made them successful? And also, what have they done where they have failed? Because when we're all here, we want to be successful. Failure is a very important teacher. So people who've made mistakes, you want to talk to them. You want to understand the mistakes they made. Because we all make mistakes, and we're all going to make mistakes. We learn the most from our mistakes. We really do. When we have success, we don't think so much about how we did it. When we fail, we think about it. We wake up in the middle of the night wondering, how did I do that? And you can't make yourself feel bad about it, but you can learn from it. Everybody makes mistakes, every business. All the businesses during this big recession that have, had so much trouble, all these big important guys who, thought they ruled the world, and they now don't have a business. Lots of people make business mistakes. So it's not a terrible thing. It's not a happy thing, but it's not a terrible thing. Learn from your mistakes. In terms of the particular challenges that women have in business, I think the biggest challenge is, how many of you are still trying to do all your work by yourself? Come on. Think about it. Think about it. This is true of women around the world. Around the world. Because in the home, we often are doing everything ourselves. Right? We're cooking, we're cleaning, we're taking care of the kids, we're getting ready to school, and doing a job, taking care of our husbands, parents, everything. That when we go into business, we take that same behavior into the company. And we try and do everything ourselves. And you were talking about getting so tired. You get very tired. And if you think how can you do that by yourself? You can't. You cannot. It is physically impossible. So what you need to think about is how to expand your capacity. How do you expand your capacity? Involving other people in your business. Whether it's as contractors, employees, it doesn't mean you have to hire a lot of people, but in some cases it may mean that. In other cases it may mean finding a partner or something where there are more brains and more hands to do the work. Because part of the reason this is hard to think about, when you get all the paperwork, say to start, when you're thinking about experts, you see all the paperwork, and you think, this will never happen, because you don't have time to do all the paperwork. You need to find someone who's going to help you do the paperwork. Right? You have to. Because how many of you are already saying to someone you can't take their business? You can't do their business because you have too much business. Right? You have too much business and it's only you. So you make decisions about which business to take, as opposed to figuring out how to take all the business that comes to you. Because the biggest challenge is, let's say you get an exporting, you get a contract, you get a customer somewhere. And they love what you sent them. That everybody wants to buy it. And it's just you. How are you going to meet all the new orders? I've talked to too many women who get a contract with Target or Walmart or someplace like that, and they send a sample and everybody wants it, so Walmart calls up and say, I want more. And they can't do it. So you really have to think about how to expand your capacity to work. And I think too many of us think of hiring other people as it being like taking on another child. Somebody else we have to care for, as opposed to somebody else we're going to join with to grow our company, who is going to have responsibilities for selling or for making or for doing something that is going to bring more money into the company. We see employees as an expense and not as an opportunity to make more money. Because we did a survey a number of years ago in the United States of women who had reluctance to hire people. And we learned that they thought it was like taking on another child. They also felt it was worse than going to the dentist. When in fact, it is the thing that really helps you grow. Every time I have hired someone, I make more money. But you have to hire the person thinking about that. And telling them that that's what they're there to do. They're there to help you make more money, and literally figuring out, as you're thinking about, do you need to hire one person now, or maybe, 2 people a couple of months when you get the contract or whatever, what exactly are they going to be doing with you that's going to bring more money into the company, make it possible for you to sell more? I would say the other thing that's very important in this competitive, highly competitive international market is the quality of your product. I think we all know we have to have good quality. But increasingly, because it's easy to move things around, is what is unique, what is truly unique about what you have to offer. What is different? What makes your product stand apart from others, or your service? But what makes your product stand apart from others? And some of the ways that we learn about that is to really go walk through stores or trade shows, really look at what's there. And if you see that there are 20 other people who are doing something similar to you, how do you make yours different? How do you make yours stand out from the others? Because that is something I hear all the time from buyers at big stores. Is they want, because they have a limited amount of shelf space, so why put your product on the shelf versus someone else's? What's going to make them decide that you're the one? And it's very doable, because that's the beauty of export and international trade. people don't make anywhere else. So the combination of the uniqueness of what you make with your understanding of what customers want someplace else starts to really put you in a very good place to be competitive. I think the other issue that fits with this is, what is your vision of your company? How do you see it, in 5 years? What do you see for your company? I know I was in Nicaragua earlier in the year, and there was a woman there who started making jams and jellies that were sold in local stores in Nicaragua. They are now sold all over the southern part of the United States as well. And her vision was first to sell something that all Nicaraguans loved, and then she really thought about the fact that people from Nicaragua live other places. So she penetrated international markets, looking to sell in communities where there were many Nicaraguans who had moved to Florida and Georgia and other places like that, so that now she sells and has a very, very robust export market in jams and jellies, and something that people who grew up there remember and want to buy when they are in the United States. So there are opportunities like that to really help follow the taste from here to where people, because I think there are, 1 million people from El Salvador living in the US, so what is it that you make here that people are going to want when they go to the States? I remember I lived in London when I was studying, and I loved American hot dogs. And at the time when I lived in London, you could not get anything like that. It was it was just something that I craved, and I couldn't wait to get home to have one of those. It was kind of silly, but now you could get those there. But then you could not. They just export or whatever. So I think you need to think about what are the things that people like that you sell. The other set of issues, this issue of delegating responsibility to others, hiring people, having a bigger team, having a team of some kind. And again, it can be informal advisors, it can be a consultant or a partner or employees or a part-time person. You need to try it. You need to try it. And it doesn't always have to be a member of your family. It can be a member of your family if the member of your family is going to add something to your business and not you hiring them because you feel you need to take care of them. If members of your family, I have a lot of brothers and sisters. I have worked with my older sister for years. She takes care of all my money, always has. I've never lost any money. No one's ever stolen from me because she is ultimately in charge of the money. And I've worked off and on with one of my brothers. Very, very good working relationship. I could not work with my other brothers and sisters. I love them, but we just don't fit. So you need to think about, if you're going to do that, how is that going to work? Because it's sort of this default position that a lot of us go to. One, because they are willing to help, and sometimes you can't pay them a lot right away. So we fall into this trap with them. And then things start to go well, and they're not doing what you need to do, and how do you get rid of them? So I would think about it before you do it. But I do know, and I told a story last night about a woman who ended up hiring her husband, and it has worked out very well. I know many women who work with their husbands. But in some cases, they work on different floors, they work in different parts of the company, they work at different times of day. It depends on your relationship and how you organize the business, and that there's an understanding that it's your business. Or it's a business that you share, but you're the CEO, and he's the head of marketing, or he's the head of technology, or he's the head of whatever, production. But you need to define those relationships. I think the reason, or one of the reasons, that we are reluctant to get into this is having to define these relationships. But if you do it, there'll be much less headache and heartache. If you define, if you're going to work with family members, define what everybody does and who is the boss. Because in the business, there needs to be a boss. It just has to be a boss. Just absolutely. When I was in kindergarten, yes, when I was in kindergarten, I got my report card, and it said I was very good, you know, at numbers and, you know, coloring and whatever, but it said that I was very bossy. And it was not a good thing. I mean, my mother sort of scolded me and whatever. But years later, I met my kindergarten teacher at a political event. And I just started laughing. I went over to her and I said, you know, you were very smart. Because I was very bossy then, and I said, I'm a boss now. And so it is a good quality to have if you appreciate the need for leadership. Because I use the word boss, but I mean you're the leader of the organization or the company, and you have to define what the leader does and what you want the other people to do. Because it will make it possible for you to do what you are best at. I am good at being a leader. I am. My father was one, my mother, I watched it. When I say children learn everything from their parents, I watched. I saw it. My parents loved their work. I love my work. I watched them. Nothing made them happier than working. So I got that too. It's a good thing. But understanding in all of this desire to export, to grow a bigger business, you have to determine what it is that you are really good at. Which part of the business are you good at? You're the boss, you started the business, you're the founder, you're the CEO, and then on a day-to-day basis, what are you going to do that helps the company grow? And I will tell you right now, you cannot do everything. So what are you best at? And then surround yourself with people who are best at other things. Don't hire people like you. Often we want to hire people like us because that's what we like, but you've got to hire people that are different. It's why in all this discussion of diversity and hiring more women and everything, you hire different people because you get different thinking, you get different skill sets, all that stuff. So you want to hire people who are different from you, who will bring assets to the company and understanding to the company. And then I would say probably the two last things that are very important for women particularly is confidence in yourself. Because you've already made a decision to come here and be part of this program, which means many of you will be successful. Because so much of this is showing up and learning the things, making the connections, following the steps, and just doing it. It is not something that will happen to you. It is something that you will make happen. And being here is a big part of that. But now when you leave here, you have to do what you learn, and if it doesn't work out, you've got to come back and find out and talk to people and keep working on it until you make it work. But it is up to you. And the ability to keep going comes from inside you. And it comes from having confidence in yourself and your abilities. And confidence is a very confusing thing, particularly for women. Because it gets very confused with, you know, whether you're beautiful or whether you think you're beautiful. It all has external things as opposed to internal things. And whether you're the most beautiful woman in the world or not, beauty only lasts so long. You know, at some point that goes away. Confidence comes from what we are capable of. What can we do? What do we do well? What do we do best? Because we know when we do it, we feel good. And it makes other people feel good. This is one of the things I do best. I love doing this. What I'm doing right now. My organization pushes me out to do this because I enjoy it, but it also brings more women into the organization, it brings more money, it brings more press coverage, it does all of those things. And I'm not very good at a lot of other things, and it's a bad thing. If they give me a lot of pieces of paper, I lose them all. I'm terrible at that. So you have to identify what it is that you are best at. Be confident in that. There's a wonderful writer I mentioned last night named Sandra Cisneros. She's a Mexican writer. And she writes about something called 10 times 10. That anytime you start losing your confidence or thinking you've made mistakes or that, I wake up in the middle of the night often thinking about business problems or, life problems or whatever. And if it really gets me, I sit down and write 10 things that make me different from anyone else. Because it reminds us of what we are capable of and what we are good at, because this kind of validation does not come from the outside, it comes from inside. Inside you. You are already here because you have internal strength. Because you know you can make your life better for yourselves and your family. And the best thing we can do these days is not only make life better for ourselves and our families, but hire other people so that they can make their lives and their families' lives better. So you are on an incredible journey. I want you to think really, spend some time, whether it's tonight or tomorrow or whenever you have a moment, to just sit quietly and imagine what kind of business you want to create. What do you want people, in the Western Hemisphere buying from you? Or what do you want people across Central and Latin America, the United States, wherever it is that you want to sell? What do you want them to know about you and what you sell? Because the people who spend time thinking about that and spend time thinking about how they want to be known, how they want their product and their company to be known, are the ones that do very well. Because you get to put some of yourself in it. And get to pass on all those things like Hillary Clinton has put us all together in this room for her dozens of years of seeing the value in women and setting up organizations like Vital Voices, helping Count Me In, doing all the work that she does to let us be the best that we can be. So I would just congratulate all of you and encourage you to be the absolute best that you can be. Get involved with other people. Work with this organization. Don't when you make mistakes and you get into trouble, women particularly go to a place of shame. That we think we've done something wrong and nobody else has ever done this, and now we have to sort of hide. If you make mistakes, you need to tell each other. And figure out, because in this room, right now today, there isn't a business problem we cannot solve together. No. There is not a problem. But the problem is that we get into trouble as women and we don't tell anybody. There's a commercial. As soon as I got there, I took on the TV and there's a commercial about domestic violence with the women with the tape over their mouths. We do the same in business. We have trouble at home, we don't tell anybody. We have trouble in business, we don't tell anybody. And the very nature of business, it's a community thing. You gotta talk to each other so you can figure it out. So be open with each other, talk to each other. And that way you'll help each other and you'll all do more business. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.